right center field. That's got carry. It's gone. Number 500 and history for Miguel Cabrera.
Bottom line is, man, it's hard to break us now. It's hard to break us. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Open look going as he hits it. What a play called by Tom Izzo in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Kane in Chicago! Oh my God! Kane with the overtime winner!
Jameer Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6'6" Kane Cunningham. Jameson Williams, he's got it. Touchdown, Lions. Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores. Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
Larkin and the Red Wings in action last night could not close the deal. How many times have you said that, heard that, or talk to your friends about that? Welcome, everybody, on a Tullymore Tuesday. We're glad you're with us here on X's and Bros. It's ready for an exciting morning. Lindsey Hunter is going to join us at 8:35. We'll talk about the NBA playoffs. We start, though, with Andy McDonald, our good friend, who is joining us after the Red Wings lose 4-3 last night in overtime to Tampa, and it was quick, 27 seconds in. Nikita Kucherov scores number 44 on the season. What did you watch last night, Andy?
I mean, it didn't seem like to me they didn't give an effort. That's for sure. It felt like
you did watch. So you did watch the Wings.
Yes, I watched a good portion of it, at least towards the end. I didn't watch it like right from the start, but when I got home last night, I watched it. I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody they have to or should at this point in the year, but if you're there, you know. But yeah, they still played hard last night, but it's just kind of no matter what, it has to end the same way, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that was my question for people this morning, and that is, are you watching them because they're on? Are you watching them because you care? Or are you watching them because there's nothing else to watch? I can't help it. As much as I get pissed off about this team this year, and I think you're right. You used the word they played hard, or the phrase they played hard. They did. They had as many hits as Tampa. They had more shots than Tampa. They had a better face-off percentage than Tampa. They drew more penalties than Tampa. Tampa had more block shots. So be it. Detroit, I thought, played really well, to be honest with you. But they need that one guy to make the one play, and they couldn't find it. The goal scorers last night, Alex DeBrincat with number 41. That ties a career high. Marco Kasper and David Perron. Those were your goal scorers. The DeBrincat goal was special because it's a 2-on-1, and Patrick Kane was, I mean, what an unbelievable move.
Yeah, that fake to the left was pretty crazy. It's something nobody else can do.
Yeah, he's got some sick stuff going on. I do wonder, he played 17 and a half minutes. I mean, here's a guy who he doesn't make a lot of money. I mean, NHL standards, he makes about $3 million. Okay. And I get the age thing, and I have been critical of his lack of want-to on the defensive side of the ice. With that said, $3 million, and you're getting a guy who's got 16 goals and 57 points. And he's a +2 on the year. Would you bring him back?
I think that's a really tough question for a lot of people right now because of what they saw the first year they signed him and stuff. I feel like if you watched close enough this year, he definitely looked a little bit slower to me. And I think he could be a part of the reason why they had some of the problems they had 5-on-5. I think he's still really good in the power play, but I don't know. It's one of those things that it kind of depends on what they do with the rest of their roster. Like, do they want to keep this top six and try to run it back with that again, or are they going to actually make some changes and switch it up? I think if they do, he'd be a part of some of those changes probably.
Excellent point. I agree. He's part of the problem. They're 5-on-5. He's also part of the reason they're so good on the power play, though.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I think he would
it's-
do that for
so-
most
so
teams.
that's
he's
a
on.
yeah, that's a yin and yang situation there. And then you ask, when you talk about their powerful six, are you just referring to forwards?
Yeah,
just
I'm
referring
just
to-
talking about
so
their
it's-
forwards. Yeah.
Okay, so people, just in case you don't follow close enough, it's DeBrincat, it's Raymond, it's Larkin, it's Kane, it's Kopp, and it's fill in the blank. Sometimes it was Emmett Finney, sometimes it was Marco Casper. I don't think they have a top six, quite honestly. I don't. I think they've got five, and you're right. One of those guys is a big question mark. I like their top four defensemen. I do. I think Seider and Edmondson are fine. I would like Edmondson to be more physical, but he's not, especially for his size. I like Falk a lot, and I like Sherratt. So I think they need some help, and if it's Johansson, then so be it. He's a young guy. Maybe it's Sandin Pellikka who comes up and is a little bit better in those types of situations. It's not Jacob Bernard Docker, I can tell you that. So you're looking for that other guy. Who's it going to be? It's a really good question. But perhaps if it's that last pairing and it's Sandin Pellikka and it's Johansson, okay. How much ice time are they going to get? It's going to probably be limited. It's maybe 15 minutes a game, something along those lines, 15 to 16. But it's really the depth of forward. Okay, it's time to move on from Kopp. It's time to move on from Comfer. It's time to move on from Appleton. It's definitely time to move on from Michael Rasmussen. You see a guy last night. This caught my eye a little bit while you're watching the game. Again, like you, I can't help but watch it because as much as you may be pissed off about this team and emotionally trying to disengage with this team, it's who you are as a sports fan. It's who you are. But last night, as well as they played, you're looking down and you're seeing Carter Mazur, and you're seeing this is a guy who is viewed as one of the up-and-comers. Is that fair? I think so. He played 12 and a half minutes, not even 12 and a half minutes. He played 12 minutes last night, 12 minutes and 23 to be exact, I believe. So he played 12 minutes and 23 seconds last night. If this is a young guy that you feel like you couldn't get rid of at the trade deadline, at least that's what we were told. The price was too high. And I think by the Red Wings elevating him this year at this stage and at different parts of the season, they view him as one of those guys.
Well, yeah, and mind you, he was hurt for a decent amount of time in Grand Rapids too, and they still moved him up this fast. So
Exactly.
I think it shows how they feel about him. That's for sure. I mean, a lot of his guys, that's kind of Steve, that's who I'm speaking on. It seems like he feels strongly about getting him into the lineup, but for some reason, Carter Mazur really has gotten the chances pretty quick when he has been healthy.
Yeah, and a round 3 pick, right? It's a 3rd round pick.
Yep.
So you get a guy like that. Why aren't you playing him more?
The question it's a great question for last night when you're out of it. I mean, unless this is kind of the last time some of these guys are going to play together and they're feeling that way with some of it. I don't know if it's like an obvious answer in that locker room, but it's probably not. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me of why you wouldn't play Carter Mazur more. I don't understand.
I don't get it either. Brenseg Nygaard is considered another one of those guys. Is that fair? Yeah, 6'1", 200 pounds. He's a former 1st round pick. Okay. His 1st round a couple of years ago. He played 11 and a half minutes. Why is he not playing more? Honestly. I mean, do I need to see more of certain individuals like David Perron, with all due respect? Why do I have to see him?
I think the fact that David
Why do
Perron,
I need to see JT come for 13 and a half minutes?
the fact that Perron scored his first goal last night since being here is kind of a kick in the pants too.
So why do we need that? It's a confusing situation that I think tells you a lot of people within the organization are just not on the same page. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You could text us, Sports Radio 21,000. Congrats to Pistons fans. We'll explain a little bit later on. We'll also talk with Lindsey Hunter at 8:35 and some deep Lions discussion based off Brad Holmes' press conference yesterday. Just getting rolling on a Tullymore Tuesday, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
One more game left for the Red Wings, by the way. It'll take place tomorrow in Florida against the Panthers, and then the regular season is over. There is something to be said for, and this is the way hockey does it, so you have to live with this, all right? But there is something to be said for the fact that even though they're eliminated, they have 92 points. Again, not good enough. That's what we can. That's what we know. It's not good enough to get you home in the East. But the 92 points is the most they've had in a season since their playoff drought began. They finished 2023-24 with 91 points. They had 93 points during the 2015-2016 season. So if they win the finale, if they beat Florida, they'll finish with 94 points. Now, again, there's no reward there. Not suggesting that they're better than they should be and that 10 straight seasons is acceptable of not making the playoffs and all that other stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. But if I said to you 92 points 94 points, that should get you in. So, for example, if you looked at last year, and I know it's not last year, Shep, the 94 points last year would have given them the second wild card because Montreal got it a year ago with 91. So, with that said, you also look at what has transpired this season, and Detroit even if they didn't get 94 points, even with their 92 that they currently have, they have more points than Utah in the West, who made the playoffs. They have more points than Anaheim, who made the playoffs, Edmonton, who made the playoffs. Hell, the Las Vegas Knights won their division, the Pacific Division, with 93 points. Well, with one game left. They lead their division with 93 points. That's how lopsided it is. We look, a lot of people in the NBA, and we oftentimes measure hockey in the NBA in similar fashion because they play at the same time. And they both leagues play 82 games, although the NHL is going to move to 84 games. We assume the West is better. When you look at Oklahoma City and San Antonio and Denver, you think those teams are stronger than Detroit, Boston, and New York. I shouldn't say you, but there's a lot of so-called pundits who believe that. And that doesn't mean that you have to subscribe to that theory either, because there's a lot of we'll get into this in a little bit. There's a website out there that has predicted who the champions are going to be. If you looked at the Lakers in the West, they're the 4 seed. Are they better than Cleveland? Well, now that they're injured, probably not. One game separates the two. That's neither here nor there. There's nothing you can do about it. I understand that. But I wanted to give you some type of perspective that the Red Wings actually have more points, obviously, than they had a year ago. They've had the most points during this entire 10-year playoff drought. And they've got a chance to, if they win the last game, to possibly would have easily finished in the playoff. They would finish in the playoffs right now in the Western Conference and could have contended for the Pacific Division had they played there. That's neither here nor there because they're not in that division. But it's worth noting for future reference. It doesn't mean you keep the guys together. It doesn't mean you don't do anything. It doesn't mean they're on the cusp. That's not what I'm suggesting, because some people have a tendency to go a little bit overboard. By the way, during the game last night, that assist from Kane to DeBrincat is career point number 1,400 for Patrick Kane. He's the 24th player in NHL history to notch that many points. Tigers are going to host the Royals in a Comerica Park series that starts tonight. Detroit coming off their first sweep of the season. The Royals split a 4-game set in Chicago. Framber Valdez gets the nod. Kansas City is viewed by many before the season began as the biggest threat to the Tigers in the AL Central. Most people picked Detroit to win the division, and you can understand why. Kansas City right there. Kansas City's offense has not been good. Their pitching has been pretty good. Their starting pitching has been pretty good. And, of course, they've got, I think, one of the most exciting players in all of baseball at shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. If you're going to go see a series early, if you're going to go see a midweek series, this wouldn't be a bad one if you want to watch a really good player. Mitch Lyonswell poll question, what are your expectations for the Pistons? One playoff series win, because they didn't get that last year. Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Championship Series, or an NBA title. You can vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. We'll give you the results in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. We bring that up only because I heard so many people say, look, and Andy's friend said it too, as long as we win a playoff series. So that's the reason I wanted to bring that up, give Andy's buddies some credit there. They feel like if they win a playoff series, they're good. Andy laughed at him. Thank God. Thank God his friends are not working on this show because they would get torched in a debate like that.
That's fair.
The Eastern Conference Finals, I think, is a worthy suggestion. I think there are a lot of people who wonder a little bit about this team when it comes to matching up with someone like Boston because of the pedigree that Boston has. And I get that. I would remind a lot of those people who are doubting them that Detroit has played this type of style, this playoff style of basketball all season long. I know what the belief is. Oftentimes the belief is you're not going to go deep in playoffs. You're not going deep into your bench. So what you did during the regular season doesn't really matter. It matters if you get hurt. Hi, Boston losing Jason Tatum. Hi, Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana. You lose guys like that, you need the depth. So I think that is important. Don't feed me bullcrap about how important defense is to you if then suddenly a team that is this good defensively, number one in defensive efficiency, has a player who leads all of basketball in steals per game and will be a first-team all-defensive player, and another player who patrols the low post with great efficiency and forces people to think twice about going down low. Not to mention the other players who have gotten better at closeouts, Cade Cunningham, at times, Duncan Robinson. All right? And then offensively, of course, one of the most gifted players in the world in Cade Cunningham, one of the more bigger threats at the center position in all of basketball, and a guy who made enough threes this year, Duncan Robinson, to have set the franchise record if it weren't for Malik Beasley a year ago. So there is some balance there, okay? And I think it's okay to expect things from your very good teams. 60 wins, third time in franchise history. People in Cleveland were no doubt feeling the exact same way. 64 wins a year ago. Look at how good this team is, so on and so forth. You can be better and not win as many regular season games. There's no question about that. Boston is probably a really good team that many people will be betting on to represent the Eastern Conference. They didn't win as many games as they did a year ago. So I get that. But that's our Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day. I'd love to get your feedback on it. And you can do so at XB Mornings. I wanted to say congratulations. Look, the Pistons have the fourth best odds to win the conference. They win the East by 4, but they have the fourth best odds. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't to me. It shows you that how little the regular season truly matters in people's minds, in bettors' minds. Fourth best odds to win their conference, not win the championship, win their conference. In other words, they think Boston, New York, and Cleveland all have better chances than the Pistons. We try to come up with why, and congratulations to Pistons fans. We'll get to all that coming up here, plus Brad Holmes and his answers to some questions yesterday that were a little unique. We'll get to that coming up here on X's and Bros on a Tullymore Tuesday, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Dorn Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan. Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu. What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
I'm going to play you some of the sound from Brad Holmes' press conference yesterday. I think you'll find it interesting. It'll be a good discussion. The Meyer hotline is open for you, 866-838-4843. Our text line is open, Sports Radio 21,000. Always welcome that. And we welcome the chat as well. If you're watching, streaming us live right now on X, on Facebook, and on YouTube, we welcome any feedback you may have. Before we get to that, just wanted to congratulate Pistons fans because of what they were able to do. And we just told you just before the break that there's a lot of people who feel they're, the odds are, for what that's worth, it might change, fourth best odds to win the East, which is very odd to me. They have the seventh best odds to win the NBA Finals. So Detroit is one of 3 teams with 60 wins this year, and yet they have the seventh best odds. The better odds, are, of course, in the East, Boston, Cleveland, and New York. And then in the West, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and Denver. Okay? Not that should be a surprise because Denver has the best player in the world. They do. I mean, Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world, I believe, anyway. What he did this year is just amazing. Better numbers than he had a couple years ago when he won the MVP. So, leading the league in rebounding and assists, no player's ever done that. In the history of the sport, no player's ever done that. Nikola Jokic did this year. He's not going to win the MVP. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's probably going to win the MVP again. Why? I don't know. Whatever. But I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be carrying that mantle for a while because I think what's happened is Nikola Jokic has just set a standard that is just crazy. And every time he gets a triple-double, people are just like, oh, okay. You know, you got a 7-foot guy doing that. It's not a guard. It's not Russell Westbrook. It's not Oscar Robertson of the past. It's not Magic Johnson of the past. It's that dude is that good at so many different things on the floor. But I digress. A national talk show host yesterday said, OKC, San Antonio, and Boston are my teams. My fourth is Denver. Meanwhile, I don't know what it is. And I'm not, folks, it's not like I'm sitting here being offended by any stretch. I'm trying to figure it out. Not everybody in the world has to feel like the Pistons are going to win the championship. Not everybody in the world has to think that the Pistons are going to represent the Eastern Conference. Let's not be sensitive. I'm trying to figure it out. What is it about other teams? If I had to handicap it, I'd pick Oklahoma City. I'd pick San Antonio. I'd pick Boston. There's a couple of teams that I'm trying to get past that I can't figure out. New York and Cleveland. But anyway, the Pistons are the 10th team in NBA history from 1974, when they started recording certain things, 1974 to now, to have at least 850 steals as a team now, 850 steals, and block 500 shots in the same season. The last team to do it was the New Jersey Nets in 1983. That one surprised me too. You've been giddy about this team all year long. And it shows in the attendance figures. Top 10 attendance. Andy, have you seen this? Top 10 teams in attendance.
I have not seen the list for that. Okay. No.
Who do you think's number one?
Lakers.
Well, I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
Who's number one? Where do you think the Pistons rank?
Okay.
And who might be the biggest surprise?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So who do you think is number one?
I would go Lakers. That would be my guess. Just being in LA.
Right. I get it. Especially with some of the star power. Lakers are 10.
Wow. Okay.
773,047 is their total attendance.
That's wild.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. What was the second one?
The second one is, where do you think the Pistons are?
Ooh, I feel like a lot of the games I've watched have had a good amount of fans at them, but I would go like 8th, maybe.
Okay. They're 4.
4th. Okay.
Okay. And who might be the biggest surprise?
I'll go the Magic, maybe.
Okay. The Magic are not in the top 10.
Okay.
I would say Philadelphia might be the biggest surprise. Here how they rank. Bulls at number 1.
That's crazy. to me.
Denver Nuggets at number 2. Miami Heat at number 3.
Wow.
That's a big surprise.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a really big surprise of the season they're having.
The Pistons at 4. Cleveland at 5. I get Cleveland.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, what they did a year ago, a lot of this, remember, preseason ticket sales. So you get a guy like Donovan Mitchell, you had a team that won 64 games, and then the acquisition of James Harden probably pushed a lot of people. Denver, of course, because they've got a lot of really good talent. Knicks at 6, of course. I mean, they're always up there based on the amount of people, even though there's more people leaving New York. The population, and they are a basketball crazed city. Dallas is 7. Cooper Flag. Boston is 8. You understand that. Philly at 9, then the Lakers at 10. But the Pistons at 4. Good for them. Pistons with 806,422, just a little bit behind Miami by about 1,000 and change.
That's good to see. I mean, when you're having a season like this, the fans come back, that quick, because it feels like for a while there, I would imagine in past seasons they weren't in the top 10. Maybe last year they cracked it, but I would imagine when they were losing all the games they were losing, they weren't even close to it. So
yeah, so good for them. I'm happy for Pistons fans, and I'm happy for the Pistons in general. All right, let's shift gears. We could be really happy for the Lions if the Lions do what many of us hope they will do and strengthen either side of the line. If you think about the Lions draft approach, how good is their offense? I'm talking about right now. If you had Penei Sewell at left tackle, and you had fill in the blank at guard, Miles Frazier, I'll just say. You had Cade Mays at center, you had Tate Ratledge at right guard, and you had Larry Borum at right tackle. With Goff and St. Brown and Jamison Williams and Isaac Tesla and Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs, how good do you think they are? Are they a top 5 offense?
I think you
as
would like
of right now.
I think you would like to think that. Last year, some of the problems that they had, though, I think to me, it's still going to come back to on if the offensive line can be good enough to be a top 5 offense again, because that's what they're wired on.
Don't disagree with that. There's no question they need an offensive lineman to at least compete. I don't care if it's a left guard. I don't care if it's a tackle. I know most people feel like it's a tackle. The question would be, do you think it's so necessary that they use the first round pick on that? Because if you look at their defense, that is their weakness, or it is weaker than the offense.
No, it's been the problem for, all these years that they've had good offenses. That has been a big problem. They've allowed a lot of points.
It has. But if you look at a team like Seattle a year ago, who won the Super Bowl, it's not like they have 2 edge rushers who get after you.
Sure.
Okay. They don't have an Aiden Hutchinson. Their second defensive end had like 3 or 4 sacks. All right. But it's a glaring weakness for Detroit. If you hope, I was talking with a guy at the gym on Sunday who said, look, Tyleik Williams is going to be better. And Aleem McNeil's coming back from his injury. I said, why do you think Aleem McNeil is going to be better? And so is Tyleik Williams. He said, well, Williams with his second year. I said, okay, let's just use that philosophy. Was Terrion Arnold automatically better in his second year? No. So why is it automatically assumed that a guy gets better because he's got a year under his belt?
Yeah, you can hope for that, but that's not.
Right.
It's not always what happens every single season.
Exactly right.
Terrion Arnold was the first person a lot of people were pointing to, like he kind of just said. And it was his second year.
I said it. I thought he's going to prove he's going to be a number 1 corner. One of those daring preseason suggestions, predictions.
Sure, and a lot of Brad Holmes draft picks, leading up to that, were just working out. So it kind of made sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said he's going to be a number 1 corner. He has not proven to be. You and I neither one of us can be comfortable with their secondary right now. You have 2 injured safeties, and you have 2 corners who had bad years a year ago.
Yeah, no, you're wondering who's even going to be starting, kind of in a way.
Well, DJ Reed's going to start.
Yes,
Terry
obviously.
Arnold's healthy. Terry Arnold's going to start. But anyway, so you can't be super secure in their secondary. You know they have to fill a gap at the linebacker spot because of Alex Anzalone being gone. Don't give me Malcolm Rodriguez, please. He's a good enough guy, but there's a reason they drafted Jack Campbell, even though they already had Alex Anzalone on the roster. Okay. And then you look at the front four, and you're crossing your fingers that McNeil's going to be healthy and as good as he was a couple of years ago. You're crossing your fingers that Tyleik Williams is going to make an improvement, that Aiden Hutchinson can have a similar season that he had a year ago. And then what? Then what do you have? Sure, you have Derek Barnes on one side. That's great. But I'm talking about regular pressure or a regular guy in there to at least be part of a rotation.
Well, and again, the proof's kind of there with how many points they've allowed in recent seasons, to where if they didn't make any significant changes, you're kind of wondering how you can just rely on the same guys, less of the same guys really at this point, to make those changes,
Yeah. And just too many variables. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. What if
so
Brad Holmes, best thing? That's for sure.
Exactly. So Brad Holmes was asked about this yesterday. And free agency was a big deal. They signed 14 free agents, 13 of them to 1-year contracts. They really bulked up their secondary. It's a from a depth standpoint, for sure they did that. But the two big names are Larry Borum, the right tackle, and DJ Wanham, the defensive end. But first, before we get to them specifically, here's what Brad Holmes had to say about his approach to free agency. And he says something in here that you should listen for, almost as if, I don't know if it's, Andy, I don't know if it's excuse making or if it's passing the buck. It could be either or both. Listen to what Brad Holmes had to say about their approach to free agency in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we did the best we could, and we maximized the resources that we had available, and that's my job to do that, and I think that we accomplished that.
Maximize the resources we had available. From what we read, they had a lot of money available. And yet, I think what they did is they went with volume. They went with a lot of guys rather than, the big splash. Whether you think it's right or wrong, that's apparently the approach. And on top of that, they had enough room left over where they're going to, in all likelihood, Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, probably in that order, to extend both those players. So that was his thoughts on free agency. I didn't look – originally I heard that and I thought, is he talking about his ownership? But remember, NFL has a salary cap. So what is it you're looking for there? You want him to spend the entire budget and then not have – you got to have a little bit of room for a rainy day. But still, I think it's $21 million left over. That seems to be a lot of money.
Yeah, I think
the plan, remember, is take care of your guys. You can say what you want about the Lions. You may not necessarily agree with the philosophy. Here's the deal, though. If you want to keep a core together, and we've talked about the core of Torkelson, Carpenter, and Green, the core of the Red Wings with Larkin and Sider and Raymond specifically, okay, probably DeBrincat, although he's got another year left on his contract, and that's it. And it's going to cost Detroit a lot of money to keep him, but he's got 41 goals this year, and he's not done with one more game to go. And we talk about the core of the Pistons with Cunningham and Duran, and perhaps Thompson, Holland, and Stewart as well. The Lions core is the best of any of the city's core. Branch, when healthy, Campbell, Laporta, St. Brown, Williams, Gibbs, Sewell, Hutchinson. I didn't even throw in Aleem McNeil. Aleem McNeil 2 years ago would be in that conversation. It's 8 guys. And I know football has a larger roster. That's 8 guys. Impactful guys. Guys who go ahead and throw in Goff if you want. Every single one of those guys I just mentioned are top Who would be the lowest? Laporta probably at the tight end because the tight end position is so deep. They're all top 10 players. They are all top 10 players at what they do, and most of them top 5 players. Cade Cunningham's top 5. Duran's top 5. Thompson's not top 5. Defensively, yes, but we're not nitpicking. We're not just talking about one area of a player. Thompson's not top 5. Holland's not top 5. Stewart's not top 5. No, at their positions. Green is a top 5 left fielder. Torkelson's not top 5. Carpenter's not top 5. And I know you're probably going, what about Skubal, Shep? He's on the last year of his deal. He's probably not going to be here. I don't consider that a core piece until he's signed long-term. Maybe Framber Valdez, if you want to. It's a 3-year contract. Red Wings, Larkin. Is he top 10? He's not a top 10 center. Not a top 5 center. He might be a top 10 center. Raymond? Sider's top 5, top 10 defenseman. The Lions have more top 10 guys than any of the core group of Detroit City teams. So you can understand why Holmes wants to keep his guys. I'm trying to keep that under consideration. I'm trying to understand why he is where he is in this financial situation. And I hope people can also understand that. I'm not suggesting it's good enough. I'm not saying what he did in the free agency satisfies me. But I do understand what his long-term view might be with a couple of guys. And when you get this draft together, whether it's Kelbert Falk from Auburn, the defensive end in the first round, and then a offensive tackle in the second round, or vice versa, I'm okay with that. But those are the areas that need to be addressed. I would love to see, and they seem to be pretty high on certain guys, but I would love to see some type of offensive lineman in the first round and then an edge rusher in the second round. I can give you some names that we'll talk about when we come back here. But I also want you to hear what Brad Holmes had to say about the 2 free agent names that people are talking about as possible key contributors. They may not be starters. DJ Wanham may not be a starter as a defensive end. Okay? Larry Borum, they seem to like. We'll play that for you. We'll be also hear about what he has to say about possibly moving up in the draft. And one national football insider, what he thinks about where the Lions are headed with the 17th overall pick. We are less than 10 days away from the NFL draft. This is something that is gaining steam in every single football market. But here in Detroit, it's been this way for at least a month or so, and especially here on X's and Bros. We've been brought to you on this Tullymore Tuesday in this first hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth. Stay with us.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip, or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for all the Buffalo Wild Wings locations in Michigan. Your home for Tigers baseball all season long. Weekday afternoon game, night games, weekends. Bring the family, friends. co-workers, neighbors in to watch the Tigers at your local Buffalo Wild Wings. Also, the Carmody brothers, who played football at Ferris State University, wanted me to remind everybody that the Ferris State football spring game is Friday night, April 24th at Top Taggart Field in Big Rapids, kickoff at 6 p.m.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
Second hour of the program. Don't forget, 8:35. We're going to talk with Lindsey Hunter. His thoughts on why so many are doubting the Pistons right now. Looking forward to that discussion for sure. This is X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9, here on the Michigan Sports Network. We are broadcasting throughout our great state, led by our flagship station in Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, and Holland. It reaches all that west area. WMAX 96.1 FM, the game. It is the blowtorch of the west side of the state. Cadillac, WKAD, the Ticket 93.7 FM. We've had a long relationship with them and embrace it. Petoskey and Charlevoix, beautiful area up there. WMBN 104.7 FM, the Ticket, Northern Michigan. In Traverse City, WKAD 93.7 FM, the Ticket. And always wanted to be on Lansing as well, WVFN AM, the game, 7:30, the score. We also stream live on X, on Facebook, and on YouTube as well. Via text at Sports Radio 21,000. Freddie says, and again, this town, these fans all will ignore the backup quarterback situation. Okay. Now, just before we get going here, all right, I think there's nothing that gets Freddie more fired up and the blood boiling than talking about the Lions. I'm telling you. I've been in the man's restaurant a number of times. He could talk about it all day long. And he has certain beliefs. I get that. I'm okay with that. However, we're talking about, the first and second round. My hope is, and that's not explained in the text. My hope is that you're not suggesting that the Lions look at a backup quarterback in the first or second round. You want to go after Cole Payton? Go right ahead. You're not doing it in the first or second round. Okay? I'm not a fan that Teddy Bridgewater's the backup here. All right? I'm just telling you right now that because of this team's, I'll use the word, needs, that you're not going after a quarterback early in the draft. Anyway, he says, oh, yeah, let's just get a guy we can just plug in there from a team that cut their third-string quarterback. Meanwhile, your number one quarterback, if he doesn't get this team to the playoffs this year, then what do? Their number one quarterback at the end of the year was a disaster. Those are facts. Not even one Rod Wood question yesterday. Does your PR tell them what they can and cannot ask? No. The PR people do not, they call on certain people oftentimes, but they do not tell you what you can and cannot ask. Okay? I can tell you that. As far as Jared Goff, he ain't going anywhere. And you're talking about that it was a disaster. Well, remember when they lost 3 in a row? Who'd they lose to? The Rams, the Steelers, and the Vikings, all in a row. Was he, and I'm just asking a question, that the wins and losses are not there. If you want to label it to him, that's fine. Okay, that's your prerogative. Let me give you his numbers from those 3 losses. 338 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. 364 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. 197 against Minnesota, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And then they won the last game against Chicago with 331 yards and a touchdown. Do you think that's the equivalent of a disaster? I'm just asking. Is that the equivalent of a disaster? And if you're going to sit there and try to tell me that, I didn't mean the last part of the season, I meant all season. And maybe stats are very misleading because you and I both watched him all season long. Second in yards thrown, second in touchdowns thrown, second fewest interceptions, third fewest, I'm sorry. Jalen Hurts threw 6, Caleb Williams threw 7, Jared Goff threw 8. Here's the big difference. Okay? Third in rating, by the way. Here's the biggest difference. 38 sacks. 38 sacks for Jared Goff, a career high taken by him, and he had the 8th most of any quarterback. Didn't have as many as Geno Smith, didn't have as many as Cam Ward, not as many as Justin Herbert, but the sacks were significant. It's not a disastrous season. 5th in completion percentage. You may text back, Shep, those are just stats. Okay. It's about wins. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm just giving you numbers and facts. You talked about facts. You said it's a fact that at the end of the year, the quarterback was a disaster. I gave you his last 4 games because Detroit was still in the playoff on until then. Was it on him losing the Rams? Was it on him losing the Steelers with the numbers that I just gave you? You want to blame him for the loss to Minnesota? That's fine. I'm okay with that. Should never lose to Max Brosmer, for crying out loud. For God's sake, you should not lose to J.J. McCarthy. But they did. They lost to both. So I'm with you when it comes to those 2 games. Very little consolation. Pittsburgh was a playoff team. He played really well. Beat the division leaders twice. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just giving you some numbers here and facts, because you talked about facts. I'm not saying that they shouldn't get a backup quarterback. I think they should. I would prefer that they go out and get somebody like that. Who that is, Taylor Green, I don't know. Cole Payton. I don't want Diego Pavia. I can tell you that. It's not a great quarterback class. Cade Klubnik, is that a possibility? Come on. You're caught up in a backup quarterback situation because you want to plan for the future. I get it. But there's also a lot of people who at the same time, and you have done this too, by the way, that has said, let's plan for the here and now. What about that? Are you going to talk about that at all? Again, not just you. I'm talking about people in general.
I feel like if you want a backup quarterback that bad that early in the draft, that pretty much has to clearly just state how you feel about Jared Goff at that point. I feel like that would correlate, that you don't really love him as your starting quarterback if you're going to try to draft that high when this team has all the other needs that it needs ahead of it.
Yeah, I don't think quarterbacks necessarily look at that. I doubt it's one of those situations where Jared Goff would suddenly feel threatened.
Oh, not Jared Goff. I'm just saying from a fan's perspective. Like if you're saying that they should go out and do that as a fan that early in the draft, I feel like anybody that you would draft that high would be someone who, could potentially be a starter, and that'd be because they don't like Jared Goff as the starting quarterback.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now that makes more sense. Yeah. So the widely viewed, the quarterbacks, Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller. Then Cole Payton. And Cole Payton, if people are unsure, he's the kid out of North Dakota State, and he is viewed as a 4th-round pick. Now, if Freddie's talking about using one of your 4th-round picks on a guy like that, double thumbs up.
Sure, that's the spot I think that's more appropriate for the Lions to use for a quarterback in this draft.
Yeah. If they ignore it, I will be shoulder to shoulder with him, suggesting you need something better than that. Do you want Carson Beck? Carson Beck is the kid out of Miami, and he's 75 years old. Taylor Green, I'm just kidding. 4th to 5th round pick. 37 turnovers the last 2 years at Arkansas. 37 turnovers. Okay? You've got 2 4s, you got 2 5s. 37, that's a lot of turnovers, man. Cade Klubnik, 5th or 6th round choice. We're not saying to ignore it. We're just saying it's not necessarily something you're going to address early on because of the lack of depth at the position. We're brought to you by Meyer this hour. We're back after this.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Okay, back with you here on X's and Bros. More Brad Holmes sound to get to for sure. But we always like to address calls. And you can call us on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. And text Sports Radio 21000 or those in the chat on YouTube as we stream live and on X and on Facebook as well. Let's see. Bob Zielinski says a quarterback is only as good as his offensive line. Amen to that. Right on. That offensive line, I think, needs a little bit of an upgrade. Look, if you look at film for Larry Borum, Brad Holmes seems to like him. And you can take just about anybody's film and just put specific highlights together and say, boy, that guy looks really good. You got to watch him on a regular basis. And that's when you necessarily find out. Here's Brad Holmes on Borum and DJ Wanham, who he signed as a free agent, as possible starters. Go ahead, Andy. Play it.
Yeah, I mean, I've said in the past, I thought Borum put out good tape this year. I don't foresee that. You know, you don't have a crystal ball, but from what last thing I saw on tape, I do think that he's got starter level ability, and same as Wanham. You know, you're talking about guys that have been starters in the NFL, but just kind of look at where the trend is going, where the arrow is going. The last time, they're still young, but we feel good about both of them, so we don't feel like it's we have to supplement them.
Yeah, I think that's where it's hard to tell people what to say in a press conference. It's what you feel, and it's kind of what comes to mind. I get that. Wanham's 28, so I guess I would ask you, Andy, is that young?
It feels like a lot of the times when people talk about NFL players, it isn't.
Yeah. Borum's 27. I don't know what the differentiate is, okay? He's been around for 5 years. He started 38 games. Chicago, and then last year started 11. He's never started a full season. Most people, when you look at them, they understand they are depth pieces. It's a little bit easier for DJ Wanham to play, and he's played obviously 6 years because he's a year older, because he's a rotational guy. He's never had more than 8 sacks in a season, which is productive for your second. For a guy you're signing for a 1-year deal and it's not super expensive, yes. You would take 8 sacks. He didn't have 8 sacks last year. He had 3 sacks last year. He had 4 tackles for loss last year, and he started 15 games. So I think there's a good debate there with Brad Holmes on whether or not they are starters.
Yeah, because it feels like he's almost in a way kind of betting on that upside again a little bit.
Yeah, but can I just tweak what he should have said? Just because they've both been starters in this league, that's not a lie. That's true. It doesn't mean that they are starters in this league. Do you know what I mean by that?
No, 100%. Yeah.
In other words, if we need him to, he can start.
Sure.
But you need a higher end player at that position than those two.
Absolutely. If you're talking about the goals they want to get to and to reach the Super Bowl, it feels like that's kind of some of the corners they've tried to get around here in maybe the last couple of seasons. And that it almost kind of feels like you're going on the same path when you say it like that.
Exactly right. So it's a really good soundbite. Now, can you get one of the best tackles? Yes, you can. You can get a top 5 tackle in the draft. How they have them measured and laid out, I don't know. I don't know how the Lions board looks. But what we do know is that you're probably going to get Francis Mauigoa. He's the tackle out of Miami. But what you can probably get is Caden Proctor at Alabama, if you choose to. Yoenye at Penn State. He's the guard. Monroe Freeling may be there. Caleb Lomu might be there. Blake Miller might be there. He's the tackle out of Clemson. 6'7", 317 pounds, very athletic. Plays a little upright sometimes. They don't necessarily like that. Monroe Freeling is a hell of a player. And Miller, by the way, played every game in his career at Clemson. If there are certain things that bother you in the past, well, I don't like that he drafts guys who are injured. Blake Miller hasn't. He's missed one practice his entire career at Clemson. He set the Clemson record for number of offensive snaps in a career and tied the record for most starts.
With how much?
54, I believe.
54,
with how much 55.
Lions fans are scarred the past couple of years from injuries. That sounds like the exact kind of guy you'd want to be in your lineup. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's a little high in his pass protection, according to many scouts, and he doesn't always initiate the contact. But again, if you believe in your coaching, Hank Freely, then you can absolutely get it done. Monroe Freeling, I think, is a really, really high-end player. He's a big kid, 6'7", 320 pounds. He's super athletic as well. Great reach. You know how I feel about Yonye. He's the kid from Penn State. He's an absolute mauler. Caden Proctor, there's some concern about his weight because he had to go from about 390 down to 352. Will you be able to keep that? Who knows? Anyway, you have that chance, is my point, to try and get somebody like that. The edge might be a little different. Keldrick Falk, I really like. He's the kid out of Auburn, all right? And widely viewed as the third best edge rusher, 6'6", 275 pounds, comes off the edge, and it's just a really good story. And I don't do this based on stories, okay? This is not about trying to have you feel good about somebody. This is more about a guy who is by all accounts, a vocal leader. He's got high character. He was a really good offensive player in high school. Does not carry the 275 pounds in an awkward way. In other words, he's yoked. He's built. His father died in an automobile accident at the age of 3 and has just been received a football scholarship in 8th grade, for crying out loud. That's how good he was. 8th grade, Alabama Birmingham offered him a football scholarship. Seems a little odd, doesn't it? Here's the, I think, the cream on the top here. He reportedly donated part of his NIL to assist a walk-on teammate. Do you like character like that? I do.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Now, it's more about production. We understand that, right? One thing being a really good teammate, one thing being a guy who is, just a good all-around person. But you've got to have production. But as a junior who needs to get after the quarterback, it's fair to say I would like to see more production than what we saw. There's depth at both positions. That's the beauty of what the Lions may be having to deal with. Some have wondered, since Brad Holmes has done this before, he's traded up in the draft. He's maneuvered his way in the draft. Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Terrion Arnold. He has found a way to wiggle his way for a player he really likes. Here's what he had to say about moving up in the draft when asked yesterday at his pre-draft news conference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, if it's the right guy. Yeah. I mean, you guys know me. I feel like you guys get mad at me sometimes. I do that too much sometimes. But no, if we have that kind of conviction for a player, absolutely. We're gonna go and get him.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I wouldn't want to give up my second-round pick. I'd package a 4th and a 5th. We get 2 of each of those to get to a 3rd-round pick or to get to a second number 1. I would do that. It's interesting that he said, you guys know me. Sometimes you guys get mad at me. In other words, he listens to the media, which is a little strange. We all know they do it, but to admit it like that is a little odd. Take more of your phone calls, more of your texts as well. You can text us, Sports Radio 21,000. Appreciate the involvement in the chat as well as we stream live on YouTube, Facebook, and X on a Tullymore Tuesday, brought to you by Meyer.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Doran Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation. They present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Doran Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Doran Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
After the hour, welcome back. An hour from now, Lindsey Hunter joins us to talk Pistons. And why are so many national members of the media not on board with Detroit? What is it about the Pistons that gives off a vibe that says they just can't buy in just yet? Doesn't make much sense to me, but maybe Lindsey can help us and explain it for us. He will join us at 8:35. Ian Rappaport is a well-respected NFL insider. Isn't always right. Nobody is, right? But he does work for NFL Network. He was asked yesterday, what do you see the Lions doing at 17? Here's what he had to say in a very vague response, but a truthful one.
Just my general read on the Detroit Lions, two things. One, it's never going to quite be what you think because they do have a different way of looking at the draft from a lot of people. Two, if you say to me, what do I think? I would say a big person, somebody big, an offensive tackle, a defensive tackle to come in and add to that really good defensive line group that they have alongside Lane McNeil and Tyleek. I would say that to me makes sense. The Lions drafting someone enormous would be something to talk about on draft.
Offensive line is pretty obvious. Here's what caught my ears when he said defensive tackle, and I thought, what does he mean by defensive? Why do they need a defensive tackle after spending a first-round pick a year ago? Are you talking about a Peter Woods from Clemson, who's 6'2", 300 pounds? I don't – if you wanted the edge – so Asim Messidor is one of those guys from Miami and a good prospect, good get-off and things of that nature. That's different than a defensive tackle because he can play defensive end, edge rush, period. He's 6'3", 260 pounds. He's not a D tackle. The D tackles are the big fellas inside. Caden McDonald from Ohio State, 6'2", 326 pounds. How much did you notice him this year? He's kind of a throwback, all right? He's a solid player. Is that where you think they need inside? That's the first I've heard of somebody talking about a defensive tackle for the Lions. Welcome back. That's Ian Rappaport from NFL Network. Let me get back to some texts at 21,000. Shep, I'm in both situations when it comes to quarterbacks. Jared Goff is like Larkin in this town. He's not going anywhere. Some don't have to wait till December to know that. Many have seen enough. Well, that's an interesting conversation. This is tough for me because, first of all, I don't disagree with you. But who do you think you can get who's better than Jared Goff? Don't tell me about using a 17th overall for a quarterback in this year's draft. The quarterbacks in this year's draft are not graded very highly. We've already talked about that. They're just not. You may like a change for change's sake, but it's not working. Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, Garrett Nussmeier. Those are popular-wise, from a popular standpoint. Those are the top three quarterbacks in this draft. And we know Mendoza's going number one. That's fine. How do you view Nussmeier? I mean, what kind of draft pick do you think he will be? Did you watch him at LSU at all? It wasn't good, man. Most scouts will say he's a third-round choice. Your third best quarterback prospect, by all accounts, or by most accounts, I should say, is viewed as a third-round pick. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily like Ty Simpson because of the lack of arm strength and fewer physical traits. He's viewed as a second round. They got one quarterback. Most scouts, I'm not saying every one of them, most scouts have one quarterback viewed as worthy of a first-round pick, Fernando Mendoza. So if we're talking about middle of the pack, that's one thing. Did you like the job Drew Aller did at Penn State when so much was expected of him? He's viewed as a third or a fourth round pick. Not a fan. There's not one quarterback, with all due respect to Fernando Mendoza, one quarterback in this draft that I would use a high draft pick on. If you wanted me to use your second, fourth round pick and take a chance on a Taylor Green and his 37 turnovers over the last 2 years? Just so you know, you make that pick, that's what everybody's going to focus on. You want to take Carson Beck and the fact that, he could be a guy who is, he's 25 years old already. He's viewed as a 4th or a 5th round pick, and he led a team to a national championship game. Have you seen enough of Haynes King at Georgia Tech to be convinced that he's a good player? Viewed as a 6th round pick. All right. Oh, and by the way, he's a 6-year player, and he's 25 years old. Georgia Tech's record holder for career touchdown passes and completions. Great. Coached by Chris Weinke. Great. How much has it made a difference? He needed 6 years to do it and viewed as a 6th round draft pick. Go ahead and address it. I have no problem with it. Take Cade Klubnik if you want from Clemson. Inconsistent is the word that jumps out. Adequate arm talent. Destined to be a backup. There you go. Go right ahead. There's such a thing as teams, maybe you're talking about always planning ahead. Here's what maybe, just maybe, this team is doing. Trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're planning ahead and saying, screw this NFL draft class with quarterbacks. We'll do it next year, and we'll get by with a veteran backup this year. Now, I don't like the veteran backup. I don't. But maybe that's what they're doing. Why waste a pick in the 4th or a 5th round that are going to be on guys who are, for the most part, destined as backup quarterbacks? I wouldn't do that. As far as the comparison with Larkin, and again, Jared Goff's been pretty damn good as a Lions quarterback. For some reason in this town, it always comes back to that. If you're not good enough, blame it on the quarterback. If your team's not good enough, blame it on the signal caller. And Jared Goff has put up some numbers that are pretty damn impressive. Has he had some stinkers? You bet. Guess what? So's Lamar Jackson. So's Josh Allen. So's Jordan Love. So's Dak Prescott. So's Matthew Stafford. See Tennessee last year. As far as Larkin is concerned, that is a great question, because I am fighting myself on trying to figure out what the Red Wings' biggest problem is. Is it leadership, coaching, management? The easy answer is all the above. If it's leadership, how much longer can you keep a core together? Why is it on Larkin and it's not on Raymond? Why is it not on Sider? Why is it not on DeBrincat? Why isn't it on Todd McClellan? Why isn't it on Steve Yzerman? Those are the frustrating things when things go wrong with what you thought were going to be your key core players moving forward.
Sure, and I feel like a lot of people have wanted an upgrade at center on the second line for quite a bit of time here too, to have another center coming in to play with Larkin maybe. If they did move on from him, I feel like they'd have a hard time finding someone to replace him that would even have the same skill as him, because there's not a lot of centers in this league that are that good, that are easy to come by.
Right. I mean, who would it be?
That's the same question with Goff. Like, you kind of are hitting on it. If people want to move on from Jared Goff, it's not easy to find good quarterback play in the NFL either. And you're talking about a bunch of guys in the draft that are,
they stink.
Destined as backups. Exactly.
Can we just be honest? Let's just be honest. They're not good enough to play in the NFL.
Sure.
Most of them.
Sure.
Most of them. I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying Mendoza's not. But they're not good enough to play in the NFL. I say this all the time. We get so caught up in this position, and I get it. Will Levis. Good enough? No. Not good enough. Wasted draft pick? Think about it. Giants felt Daniel Jones was a wasted draft pick. Okay? Think about the first round picks the teams used. Jameis Winston. And were able to, or had to, move on. Tampa had to move on. J.J. McCarthy was the first round draft pick. How's that working for them right now? Not too good, is it? Where was Justin Fields taken? He's taken in the first round. Do you know why these players are taken in the first round? They're taken in the first round because teams are always chasing the quarterback. I've got to have him for me. Geno Smith is back with the Jets. Oh, by the way, he was a high second-round pick. That's what people are doing. That's what teams are doing. Now, I'm not saying you take the next Spencer Rattler, who was a fifth-round pick. I'm just saying if you're forcing your way into that position, you're asking for trouble. Let the draft come your way. Do not reach. And if you happen to miss on a guy in the fourth or fifth round who's destined to be your backup quarterback, then you make up for it in other ways. Shep, I'm in both situations. Neither has been planned for a while with the future. Those two stay, as in Goff and Larkin, and don't win. I always think of Giannis Antetokounmpo's answer when they talked about a failure. Don't win. Jared Goff has won a lot as a Lions quarterback, but hasn't won the big thing. That's the goal. That's what we want. Larkin has not led his team as a captain to the playoffs. You're right. I can't argue that. I can do my very best to say, look, it's not all on Jared Goff. It's not. And I can do my very best to say it's not on Dylan Larkin. It's not. Is it Dylan Larkin's fault that this team has failed to collect a true second-line center or a good bottom six forward situation? Is that on Dylan Larkin? You're going to blame a guy because he's the captain of this team and isn't, quote-unquote, inspiring enough people. You're going to blame a guy who averages 20 minutes a game. I find that interesting. Here's the reason I find it interesting. The assistant captain for him averages almost 26 minutes a game, but we're not blaming him. Why? Shep, Scooble leaves in November. This town will turn with none who have really panned out. That's not true. Come on. It is about championships. So you are correct in that term. Has Cade Cunningham panned out yet? They haven't won a championship. Remember, Scooble's a 9th round draft pick, man. 9th round. He pitches every 5th day. We're going to blame the Tigers not reaching it on one guy? Now, did he go as far as we wanted him to in certain situations, like against Seattle a year ago? Nope, did not. Did not do that. I'm not blaming an entire season lost on one individual. Do I want certain things out of that player in certain games? Yes. But a full season, that is tough, especially when Larkin was hurt for a while, by the way. In the chat, Shep, what round was Tom Brady picked again? Well, Tom Brady's the exception. The 6th round. Tom Brady's the greatest late pick in NFL history, right? I think so. Wouldn't you agree?
You can't argue that.
How do you argue that? He's arguably the greatest player of all time. Now, is he the best of all time? That's a good debate. You know, Jerry Rice. But Tom Brady's not the only one. Not suggesting that he is. Okay. Because I think everybody uses that as the example. And I understand why, because it's an incredible story. It really is. And it's the perseverance. There's a linebacker from Miami by the name of Zach Thomas. It's a damn good player. It's a 5th round pick. Antonio Brown played his college ball at Central Michigan. He's one of the best wide receivers of his generation. It's a 6th round draft pick. Jason Kelce, now a star on TV, a center for Philadelphia, he was a 6th round pick. There were 190 players taken ahead of him. Terrell Davis is a Hall of Fame running back. He's a 6th-round draft pick. Richard Sherman, a 5th-round pick, and considered one of the better cover corners in all of football. I think we don't put enough stock into that kind of stuff. So in fairness to all the things that we have had, people in the chat and people via text talk about, I hear where you're going and I understand it. And there are certain players in the past. I mean, Darryl LaMonica was a late draft pick. I mean, you don't remember him. I barely remember him. Brian Sipe was a quarterback for Cleveland. I mean, he was the MVP in 1980. He was a late round draft pick. His running back, Ernest Biner, was a 10th rounder, for crying out loud. So there are guys, who have helped lead their teams to Super Bowls. Carl Mecklenburg, final round. They had 12 rounds back then, I believe, in the NFL. And look at where he was drafted. So we could go on and on and on about certain guys and certain impact players and Hall of Fame players, Raymond Berry, who have made a difference. I think Rod Martin was the MVP of the Super Bowl for the Oakland Raiders when they beat Ron Jaworski and the Eagles. And I think Rod Martin was a really late draft pick. I think you can find that. I'm just not counting on that. That's why I always say, big philosophy, huge, is you've got to hit home runs. You've got to get starters in your first, your second, and your third rounds. Now, Detroit doesn't have a 3rd-round pick this year. I think it's really important that Detroit, if they're going to trade, some people want to trade up into the first round. Okay, I hope they can package a 4th and a 5th to get to a 3rd-round pick and get an impact player there. Safety, a corner, someone of that ilk in that position. To me, that would be fantastic. I know some people, especially in the text, would love to see, a quarterback. Personally, I'd love to see them shore up the secondary a little bit. Who that is a good question. There's a kid, I don't think he'll be there, but there's a kid out of Oregon named Dylan Thieneman. He started his career at Purdue, then transferred to Oregon. He was an All-American last year. He's a playmaker. He's a Midwest kid. I could see him as a guy who would be worthy of moving up 4 in the 3rd round. If you indeed feel like safety is of need, you're going to need damn well you're going to need a tight end. My guess is you could get a guy like Marlon Klein in the 4th round. He's out of Michigan, and he's a good player, good size. He's a good blocker. He's athletic. You've got a lot of needs, man. Believe it or not, you've got a lot of needs with this team. Our phone number on the Meijer hotline, 866-838-4843. 8:35, Lindsey Hunter joins us to talk Pistons basketball here on X's and Bros, brought to you this hour by Meijer.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements, this center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Dorn Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan.
Third and final hour of X's and Bros. Thanks for being with us on this Tullymore Tuesday. Good head. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. The text line, Sports Radio 21,000. And you can always join us in the chat via YouTube, X, and, of course, on Facebook as well. If you missed it last night, Red Wings lose 4-3 in overtime to Tampa, Nikita Kucherov, who Steve Yzerman did draft down in Tampa. Yesterday, I misspoke. I said that he drafted Victor Hedman and Andrei Vasilevsky. He did draft the goalie, but he did not draft the defenseman. He drafted Nikita Kucherov, who's an unbelievable player, man. He scored his 44th goal last night. He's I don't think he's underrated any longer. I hope people don't view him as underrated. He's got 130 points, man. I mean, it's the race for the Hart Trophy for the MVP is going to be crazy because Connor McDavid has more points than anybody else with 134. All right, and he's got 48 goals. He's a plus 15, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but and he's played 81 games, by the way. You know, so I need load management in other sports. 81 games for Connor McDavid. 134 points. Kucherov is second with 133 because he has 4 less goals. Nathan McKinnon has 126. He's got 52 goals. Macklin Celebrini scored again last night. And the 19-year-old has 44 flipping goals. He's got 112 points. Here's the difference. McKinnon's a plus 55. McDavid's a plus 15. Kucherov's a plus 44. That's crazy. So as good as Macklin Celebrini is, for example, and he's a phenomenal player. It's too bad he plays in San Jose because we don't get a chance to watch him quite as much because, obviously the late starts. But when he's playing in the East, he's must-watch TV. He's phenomenal. He's only a plus 9. If you're looking for something that's different, and it's not always fair, you know what a plus and a minus is in hockey, I hope. In case you don't, if you're on the ice, it's a 5-on-5 situation. If you're on the ice and your team scores, you're a plus. If you're on the ice and the opposing team scores, you're a minus. So a -2, for example, is a really bad night. If you're looking for what is the difference, and these guys are all high-level goal scorers, they've all scored 40 or more goals. They're all really good assist men. They all have a lot of points. But don't you think plus minus comes down? It comes down to some plus minus. And if that's the case, Nathan McKinnon is probably going to be in that conversation before just about anybody else. He also has 7 game-winning goals. Kucherov has 8. I think Jason Robertson leads the league with 9. I could be wrong there. And then, of course, you look at power play goals. If you look at Connor McDavid, he's got 13. The most, I believe, is Leon Draisaitl. Still, even though he's been hurt for the last 3 to 4 weeks, he's got 16. How Edmonton hasn't won anything yet is strange, but that's what happens when you're Florida. Speaking of postseason, the NBA. Do you consider the NBA postseason beginning tonight?
I mean,
it's the play-in.
It counts, yeah. I mean, I guess it's like if you made it, you made it. But I think everybody's just kind of thinking you get to. It's the 1 seed plays whoever, and then the next highest seed plays whoever. I don't think anybody really thinks of them as threatening teams, but
probably not. I'm just wondering if you consider it the postseason. The NBA playoffs begin tonight. Do you consider these playoffs? I don't.
It seems like it's like, I mean, at that point, how many teams in each side are making it? Was it 9?
Well,
10?
Here's what you have. You have a play-in game tonight in the East. It's Miami at Charlotte. I'll take Charlotte. It's Portland at Phoenix, and then tomorrow it's Orlando at Philly and Golden State at LA. Clippers.
Yeah,
I'll take the Clippers in that situation.
No, I feel like you're really in when you win this game and get in, I guess, at that point, because then you're actually
these
in
are I consider them extra games, Andy.
Sure,
that's what I consider.
Do you feel the same way about like the wild card round right now in baseball, or is that different to you because it's 3 games?
Well, it's different because they play a series,
right? So so no matter what, that counts because they
yes
play 3. Okay,
that's how I look at it. Right or wrong, that's my philosophy. you're looking at one game. This is just an extra game. This is game 163 between the Tigers and the Twins.
Yep, okay. I remember that game.
So Miami at Charlotte. Who do you have? I'll take Charlotte.
I'm going to go with Charlotte too. I don't like Miami this year.
Yeah, you may not like them, but I'm wondering if you feel like they are a team that.
No, I think Charlotte gets it done. I don't think LaMelo Ball can win a series. Yeah, I think he can win a game here though.
Okay. How about Portland at Phoenix?
I would just go Phoenix based off being in the postseason in the past. But again, this is where it's kind of crazy that it comes down to one game here, But
it does. I think I would go Phoenix. They've got 25 home wins, which is impressive. Portland stinks on the road. They've only got 8. They're 18-23 on the road. So I would take Phoenix. Orlando at Philly is tomorrow. That's
an interesting game.
These are the other plans. Okay. Orlando's got talent. Remember, this is a team that everybody thought would be a rising team in the Eastern Conference, and they have won 7 of their last 10. Both teams 45 wins. Orlando has come in playing much better basketball. I'm going to take the road team. I'm going to take the Magic.
I got to ride the hot hand too. I think at that point it's just kind of what you got to go with in a one game situation.
And I think the Clippers have played better than anybody else. I would take them over Golden State. So I'm only taking one road team in the 4 play-in games for what that's worth. Who you taking, Golden State or LA?
I've been going back and forth right now. I think I'll go Golden State. I'll switch one up from you there. I think they could get the job done and get into a series.
Okay. Then that's where it is. The Pistons will finally know their opponent shortly, and then I believe the Pistons, is it Sunday?
Yep, Sunday 6:30 NBC.
Yes,
yep.
Sunday at 6:30, right? 6:30. Boston is at 1. Oklahoma City is at 3:30. Then the Pistons, and then San Antonio is the nightcap. Sunday will be a very, very busy basketball day. All right. Tigers will play the Royals tonight. If Framber Valdez gets the call for Detroit as they look to continue rolling after their sweep of the Miami Marlins. Here's our Mitch Lanswell poll question. We have them for you on our Twitter handle every single day, and I've retweeted it out. What is your expectations for the Pistons? So right on cue. Is it one playoff series win, Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Championship Series, or NBA title? What is your expectation for them? Vote as often as you want. The results come your way in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. Lindsey Hunter joins us, 8:35. Looking forward to that conversation. By the way, we were talking about the Lions and their draft needs and what Brad Holmes had to say and other prominent members of the media had to say. I did see this on NFL.com yesterday. Sometimes there are certain websites, they take a while to release their mock drafts because they're doing more and more work. The easy thing to do is just start mocking it as soon as, and I don't mean making fun of it, but kind of mapping it out as soon as the Super Bowl ends. Take your time and wait a little bit. Wait until you see what's at the combine. See what some of the general managers and scouts are telling you. NFL.com came out and gave the Lions a very interesting player that we have talked about already here on the show, and we will get to when we come back. Lindsey Hunter at 8:35, and some thoughts on one specific website's decision to give Detroit a certain player as the NFL draft quickly approaches. We'll get to that when we come back here on X's and Bros. We're brought to you in this third hour by Avello Airlines and AvelloAir.com.
In the Den. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That code is HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. This is Matt Shepard. The Tigers see the Kansas City Royals tonight in their first series against one another this year. KC was viewed by many as the biggest threat to Detroit in the AL Central this season. They're coming off a series split to the White Sox and are 7-9 on the year, but they believe pitching wins games, and if it plays out, they should
be in the mix. You see, through 16 games, the Royals starters have allowed 0 earned runs 5 times, 1 earned run or fewer in 10 starts, and 2 or fewer in 11 starts. Their bullpen has been a little shaky, but their offense has left them baffled. Their 54 runs scored are 26th in all of baseball. Think about this. Bobby Witt Jr., their all-star shortstop, has been on base 28 times this year, but has scored just 1 run. That is stunning. The Tigers hope to take advantage behind Framber Valdez tonight.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Little Anti-Ghost coming back. Welcome back here on X's and Bros. Monday through Friday from 6 until 9. Andy and I were just talking. The way I look at it, and Lindsey Hunter's going to join us at 8:35. The way I look at it is I think Detroit's going to have their pick of 6 prominent names for the positions that you and I feel need to be addressed. I don't know if it's the first round or the second round, but I think it's fair at some point during this draft, they have to get a tackle and they've got to get a defense. They got an edge rusher. Okay. At some point during the draft. Where that is, I don't know. I would hope it would be early, but I don't know what their ranking is. Brad Holmes believes in BPA, best player available. I believe the same thing for what that's worth. Probably worth very little. I look at it like this. They have a chance to draft. They're going to be in a position to chance to draft Blake Miller. He's the tackle out of Clemson. Caden Proctor, the tackle out of Alabama. Monroe Freeling, the tackle out of Georgia. One of those three, I think, will be available. Not all of them, but one of them will be. Meanwhile, defensive or edge rusher, I think they will have an opportunity to take the junior edge rusher out of Auburn, Keldrick Falk. I think Akeem Messidor from Miami would be there, and Cassius Howell, the edge rusher from Texas A&M, would be there. Those aren't bad options, are they? I mean, and I'm not talking about just name recognition. Look at the productivity. Look at what they've done. I know there's some concern about Monroe Freeling. He's only started 18 games at the collegiate level. I understand that. All right. So here's what the NFL.com put in. They used the entire draft, first round. And for the Lions at 17, here's who they had them selecting. Blake Miller. He's the tackle for Clemson. Here's what they write. In this future I've created, Lions fans cannot believe their luck. Enticing options abound at offensive tackle and edge. The two most dire needs in Detroit. Absolutely. If Brad Holmes doesn't come out of this draft with a tackle and at least one edge rusher, you are going to be livid. And I don't blame you. It's almost like Detroit's edge is Green Bay's wide receiver. When are you going to draft a first-round pick on an edge or on a wide receiver is what they kept screaming in Green Bay. Suddenly Green Bay hosts it, and they draft a wide receiver. Matthew Golden out of Texas. So not that Detroit is hosting it. Pittsburgh's hosting it this year. What can Detroit get? Could they get that edge? Maybe not on day one, or maybe on day one with some of the options we just gave you. Anyway, the article continues, which is why the announcement of Blake Miller's name raises some eyebrows. It's not a sexy pick. How many tackles are? Be honest. When they drafted Penei Sewell, were you like, oh, I can't wait to buy that jersey? You and your buddies are sitting there talking. Were you really thinking, listen, this is exactly who I wanted? How often did you watch Penei Sewell at Oregon? In 2021, when the Lions drafted him 7th overall, I'm sure there were people. I know I was guilty. I wanted Micah Parsons at Penn State, but I saw him more often than I saw Penei Sewell. I'm glad they drafted Penei Sewell. If you had to redraft that draft, Penei Sewell would not be available at 7. Think about the players taken ahead of him. Trevor Lawrence. Who's the quarterback out of BYU? Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Kyle Pitts. Stop me when you found somebody who's better than Penei Sewell at his position. Jamar Chase, that's probably it. Jalen Waddle. Those were the 6 players taken ahead of Penei Sewell. But we didn't watch him much because it was at Oregon. They weren't in the Big Ten yet. and they're playing late. And how many guys are watching the left tackle? I don't know. I love the pick, and I'm sure you do too right now. So whether it's a sexy pick, so what?
I feel like when you're watching that as a fan, at first you probably thought to yourself, like, maybe you'd want one of those flashier guys. I think when you find out that he was probably the number one overall player at that position, you get a little bit more excited. But I don't think anybody was, like, to your point, screaming, "Oh, I'm going to go buy a Penei Sewell jersey because they made that pick." I think people were just like, "That's the smart pick," I guess.
The safe pick. Yeah,
just trying to think back to how people reacted when that happened, but it seems like that was kind of how it went.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. The article continues, but in the real world, the Lions need immediate help at tackle following the release of Taylor Decker. So obviously they're not sold on Larry Borom, are they? At least not to the same extent that Brad Holmes is. They write, no time for a project. Miller oozes experience, having started every Clemson football game, all 54 of them. Told you that earlier. Big reason why you could understand why you'd want something like that over the past 4 years. Penei Sewell goes back to his college position on the blind side, and Miller taken over at right tackle. Okay, I could see that. That means here's who they would have passed on. I don't look at the players who were taken ahead of them because you wouldn't have had a chance. So if you're not going to get a crack at Spencer Fano, why complain about it? There are players who are always measured against others. That's how it is. If you have an idea of who you want and you think your team should take, if that team takes somebody else and your player goes later, you will always measure them against one another. It's just kind of how it works. So let's say that 2021 draft, a lot of people measuring if you wanted Micah Parsons. Hey, Micah Parsons or Penei Sewell. Both have been damn good players. I'm sure Cincinnati was measuring Jamar Chase against Jalen Waddle. And I'm talking about players, or I'm talking about fans, I should say. Because a lot of people saw Jalen Waddle at Alabama or Devontae Smith at Alabama because he was taken later in that draft and he won the Heisman. So when people at Cincinnati are like, oh, we're taking Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith's right there. He won the Heisman Trophy. Let's see how he does. Let's see how their careers compare, if that makes sense. So I look at who Detroit would have passed on based on this mock of NFL.com. They would have passed on Dylan Thieneman. He's the safety out of Oregon who goes to Minnesota. And let's face it, they're taking him because Harrison Smith is seemingly walking off into the sunset. Kenyon Sadiq, who's the best tight end in the draft, going to Carolina. That would be a great pick. Ty Simpson, which I think is way too high for Arizona at 20. But there you go, a team drafting for need rather than best player. Don't tell me that you have Ty Simpson ahead of Keldrick Falk or Akeem Messidor or even Monroe Freeling, who's better at his position than Ty Simpson is at his. But to that point, Proctor goes 21 in Pittsburgh. This according to NFL.com. So Detroit would have passed on him, would have passed on Falk, the Auburn edge rusher, would have passed on Messidor, the Miami edge rusher, the second one, since everybody knows Reuben Bain, Freeling, the junior tackle out of Georgia, and Cassius Howell, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M, who would go 26 to Buffalo. And you could actually understand there are two other tackles taken in this mock draft in that first round, which tells you just how deep that position is and the need many teams feel like they have. Lindsey Hunter on the other side. Why aren't more people buying into the Pistons as an Eastern Conference threat? We'll ask the former two-time world champion when we come back after this, brought to you by Avello Airlines and AvelloAir.com.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beilein. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on The Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Doran Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Doran Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
35 after the hour. Welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday throughout the state of Michigan, here on the Michigan Sports Network. Andy McDonald is our producer. I'm Matt Shepard. Lindsey Hunter is a two-time world champion. He knows what it takes to win it all. And we are beginning the push for the NBA championship. And he'll be talking about it on Crossover Podcasts with Tim Hardaway Sr., the Hall of Famer. And we're fortunate to have Lindsey Hunter as a friend and fortunate to have him on here on X's and Bros. How are you, my friend? Good to talk to you.
I'm good. How y'all guys doing?
Hey, we're doing great. So this is the time of year where things are different. Can you explain to us how it is different for players when you go from playing 82 regular season games to now what many will be playing in is a series outside, those play-in games, which I think are kind of crazy, but the series, how does everything change?
Well, I think the regular season, we've always looked at the regular season as like if we talk about school, like this is school time. Regular season is school time. We're doing assignments, we got homework, we got all sorts of things going on. At the end of the year, now it's test time, and that's what the playoffs are. This is test time, and everybody now will see if all the things that they learned during the regular season were true or they were false, and that's what the playoffs will show everybody.
So now it's test time. What kind of test, if you had that during the regular season, maybe quiz? How about that instead of test? What type of quizzes do you think the Pistons passed during the regular season?
Well, we know defensively, one of the top defensive teams in the league has been proven throughout the 82-game season. I think offensively, in the half court, that's where we were kind of mediocre. That's going to have to, be a little different during the playoffs. I think fast break wise, we were one of the best fast break teams. We created turnovers. Our offense is generated by turnovers, deflections, and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Pistons transform in the playoffs because we are a team that's like I think we're outside top 15 as far as half court offense is concerned. And what is the playoffs mostly dominated by? Usually. Half court offense, right? So the Pistons are going to have to either get a lot better in the half court to push past in the playoffs, which I think they can do. I think they're more than capable of doing that. Or we're going to have to be a team that really dominates defensively, stay in close games, and have our superstars win it in the end.
How many, when you talk about superstars and you used the plural, how many superstars do you think they have?
Well, I think we have, of course, Cade, and I think we have a budding superstar in Jalen Duren.
Okay. All right.
So I think we have two guys offensively that, you can run your offense through, and I think they're going to have to really step up in the half-court offense. If we can't really get out in transition like we normally do, which I think the Pistons will be able to do it, but I still think we have to generate more offense in the half court and be better than 16 in the league. If we can jump up to 10, something like that, I think we'll be fine.
Who's the matchup that creates the biggest issue for the Pistons in your mind in the East?
Man, those Celtics, man. Those Celtics look tough. But I think the Pistons can match up with anybody in the East. I think we have a great chance to in a 7-game series to beat anybody. As long as we do the things that I spoke about earlier, if we can get our half-court offense generating a little more, continue to do the things that got us here, I think in a 7-game series, we can beat anybody.
I don't disagree with you. And here's the reason I give. You mentioned you got a top 5 player in the world in Cade Cunningham. You have a top 5 player in Jalen Duren at his position. You have a top 5 perimeter defender in Asar Thompson. You have a top 5 low post defender in Isaiah Stewart. you have one of the best coaches in the league, and you have the most efficient defense in the league with a deep roster. Now, I don't know how long you as a coach are going to go deep into your roster in the postseason. Oftentimes the belief is that it's scaled back a little bit, but I think those are all part of the reasons why they can compete with anybody in a short or a long series. What am I missing from those, what I would consider defining statistics or defining thoughts on this team?
What was the biggest concern? What is the biggest concern for the Pistons? What everybody talks about? Our shooting, right?
3-point shooting and 3-point defending of
right,
the 3-point shot.
Right. So those are the things that we all worry about with the Pistons. Can we be? We don't have to be above average. Can we be a 37% three-point shooting team in the playoffs? Can we do that? I think the Pistons can. You don't have to. You don't have to be lights out all the time. I always say it's when you make the threes, not how many you make, not your percentages. It's when you make them. Can we be a team that in dire times make the big shots? I think our guys have proven that we have enough guys that can do that. So I don't worry about that as much. I think we'll rise to the occasion. Defending the three-point shot, we have to get better at that because, there are a lot of teams, especially on both sides, in the East or the West, that can make threes. The Celtics, that's what they do. They're one of the few teams that they live and die by the three. And so we will have to get better at that. But man for man, I think you mentioned it. If we could play the way that we've been playing and keep these games tight and depend on Cade and Duran and some of our other guys to come through for us, it'll have to be different guys at different times. Man, I'm looking forward to a long run.
17 seasons in the National Basketball Association, 2 world championships, all rookie member, Lindsey Hunter, co-host of Crossover Podcast that you can find anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, especially on YouTube. The best place to do it is watch it on YouTube because you can see the reactions and the passion that he and Tim Hardaway Sr. have when they host that program, and it's an outstanding program for basketball. He's joining us here on X's and Bros. Here's what I noticed, and I not that this is always the Bible, all right, but based on odds, Detroit has the 4th best odds to win the conference, not the championship, the conference. It's Boston, New York, Cleveland, then Detroit. And Detroit has won the East by 4 games. They also have the 7th best odds to win the NBA Finals. I'm not going to get upset and offended by that, Lee, because, look, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Boston, I think all very credible, even to a certain extent Denver. What are people not buying into about the Pistons that maybe you and I are sold on this same team?
Well, you know how it is. The national media is going to always fall in love with the glitz and the glamour teams, and that's OKC because they've proven it. They've earned the right to be favored regardless. San Antonio's been off. San Antonio's the one team I think that gives OKC a lot of problems. They match up really well with OKC. When you look at Denver's been there, done that before, and they have arguably the best player in the NBA. You look at Boston, they've proven that they can win a championship, and with Tatum back, they're looking, I don't know if they're looking quite like the team that won the championship, but they have a lot of championship DNA on that team. And New York, people have just been falling in love with New York since they become a better team, and that's just what the media does. I'm not buying New York; they haven't proven anything. And Cleveland, just because they got another star inserted in there, and they have 2 guys that can really are high-level shot makers. I'm not buying them because I think defensively that's where they're going to have to prove to me that they are a championship caliber team. Looking at the Pistons, I think we have a lot of things going our favor, like defensively. We've been one of the best defensive teams in the NBA all season long. We had a little slip up after All-Star break, but we got back on track. I just think that if we can continue to do the things that elevated us in the regular season, of course, the postseason is different. There's a lot of more pressure in the postseason. Our guys experienced that last year, and hopefully that carries over into this, playoff run, and our guys can elevate, continue to be a top 2 defensive team in the league. continue to generate turnovers the way we have and be more efficient in the half-court offense. If we can do those things, man, we'll be really, really looking forward to a long run.
Who could surprise in each conference? Who's an underdog that might provide an upset on the way?
Wow, that's a great question. When you look at teams in the East, I think the scary teams are the Atlanta Hawks. They are a scary team, man.
Yeah, their offense is really good, isn't it? Yeah,
they're a scary team. They, I think, when they put McCollum in the starting lineup, they went absolutely nuclear, and those guys have been playing some really good basketball. So that's a team I think you got to look at and say, okay, we got to watch these guys. They're pretty doggone good. They can defend. They have length on the perimeter. They have outstanding playmaking ability with Johnson and McCollum. So that's a team that you got to kind of take a look at and say they're up and coming and they're playing well.
And they open with the Knicks, by the way, folks. They open with the Knicks.
Exactly. That's going to be a dogfight. And I think once the Hawks, get a little experience and understand what this playoffs is about and settle down in it, I think they'll fight the Knicks really tough. It'll be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. And in the West?
In the West, man.
I mean, I don't see Minnesota beating Denver. I'm sorry, I just don't. and the Lakers beat Houston 2 out of 3 times this year, so that's interesting.
Yeah, but the Lakers are banged up. It's going to be tough for the Lakers to surprise anybody. It'll be hard to. It'll be interesting to see what surprise team. There's always one surprise in each conference, and it'll be fun to watch and see what team comes out and does something unexpected. But the West is so top heavy dominant. When you look at San Antonio, you look at OKC, you look at excluding the Lakers because they're kind of an anomaly because they've got their 2 main guys out. And you look at Denver, those teams they're battle proven, they're battle tested, except San Antonio. But San Antonio just they have a unicorn that's anchoring that defense, and so it'll be interesting to see how far they can go and what experience does for them this season, this playoff run. But man, it's going to be a fun year. It's really fun because our guys are back and our guys are playing really well, and we look forward to the Pistons having a great run, and I think they will.
Is J.B. Bickerstaff Coach of the Year, and if so, why? If not, why not?
Man, obvious Coach of the Year.
Well, some people think Joe Mazzulla's done an unbelievable job in Boston. I'm not going to disagree with that. I just don't think he's Coach of the Year. Mazzulla's done an incredible job without Jason Tatum.
Yeah, Mazzulla's done a great job, but Mazzulla's had everybody except Jason Tatum. So I think that gets a little overblown. I think if you look at the job JB's done, if you tell me one person that picked the Pistons to win 60 games, exactly.
And do it. And by the way, and do it with a star who missed, somewhere around 16, 17 games. One of your best low post defenders who missed a lot of time. And trying to incorporate some new guys like Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert into that culture. Absolutely. I think J.B. Bickerstaff should run away with it. I gave you the Joe Mazzulla name because that's what other people have discussed. That's all.
Yeah, I think JB should hands down be the Coach of the Year, and I don't necessarily think it's close. I respect Joe Mazzulla. I think Joe Mazzulla is a great coach. He's proven it in the past. But I think the job that JB has done over the last 2 years has been nothing short of outstanding, and I think he separated himself as far as being Coach of the Year with any of the coaches in this league, and the job he's done. Like you said, he's been winning when he's had everybody out. He's had guys step up. He's pushed the right button. Yeah. He's created a rotation of guys that I think we can depend on in the playoffs. And, hats off to what he's done in this regular season. And hopefully, the Pistons can, get our rhythm in the playoffs and they can keep pushing forward to further prove our point that he is the Coach of the Year.
Amen to that. I know you're more than just a basketball guy because when you and I talk, we talk about a lot of different sports. Who should the Lions take at 17 in the NFL draft next week?
And it's funny. I was I was looking at, I was trying to look. I didn't get a chance to really dive deep into the draft because I want to see who's out there, what guys that we can, look at and who they may be, trying to acquire. It's going to be interesting to see what direction they go in because if we look at needs, of course the Lions always want pass rushers, right? We need help on the offensive line as far as putting pressure on other opposing quarterbacks. We need secondary help.
Yes.
Right? We always need secondary help.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what direction they go in. And man, I know everybody's going to be up in arms because I was looking at some comments, people going crazy because our GM wasn't really like saying they want everybody to go all in. Every year, everybody wants the Lions to go all in on everything.
Yeah, that's so true because they saw the Rams do it, and the Rams quickly rebuilt and went further than the Lions did a year ago. So that's what it's all about. Yeah, I mean, look, you're right. The edge rush, tackle, secondary help. They're going to need a linebacker. They're going to need a backup tight end. There's plenty there. The good news is they've got 9 draft picks. We'll talk about it after they make the pick with you. I'm sure every once in a while, you and Tim Hardaway Sr. get us into that mode too. I'm sure you'll talk about it on Crossover Podcast. Thanks for the time this morning, my friend. Have a great week and enjoy the playoffs that begin tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's Lindsey Hunter, the 2-time world champion co-host of the Crossover Podcast, joining us here on X's and Bros. Let's get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday. We'll have that on a podcast a little bit later on as Andy makes that available to you in case you missed any of it. Yesterday, we asked you the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day. Should Steve Eisman be fired as general manager of the Detroit Red Wings? It's a simple yes or no.
It was a resounding 76% of the people say yes, which it doesn't really surprise me at this point. I think it took a while to get to this point where more of the fan base wanted that, but that seems to be what you're hearing more and more from people.
All right. What if I tweaked that and said, do you think he will get fired? It's one thing believing he should be. It's another thing believing he will be.
He won't be. I'm willing to put a lot of confidence behind that statement. I just think he has the longest leash out of anybody in most sports. He's got the longest leash possible.
And what do you think that says?
Do
you read anything into that? Like, you know what? The owner just doesn't care enough.
Yeah, I think that definitely could be a part of it too. Maybe he has a good relationship with him, but I think that's kind of always been the thing with Chris. I think what he's done with the Tigers lately has shown a little bit more care, so you want to give him credit for that. But it's hard to say with it going for this long. He can't be putting as much stock into the Red Wings as he is some other things.
Yep, and we got a Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question as well today. What are your expectations for the Pistons? 1 playoff series win, Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Championship Series, or NBA title? We're back with you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. For Andy McDonald, I'm Matt Shepard. Thanks for listening. I appreciate Lindsey Hunter joining us. Don't forget the huge show, outstanding performance. It is must-listen radio on the west side of the state. Bill Huge Simonson at 3 o'clock here on the Michigan Sports Network.
In the Den. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That code is HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook.